So I'll do a short presentation and then we can start from there. This is mainly for your benefit and for those who might be joining first time. So,
Sounds
okay,
good.
you're able to see the screen, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so today is September 25th. Is the CG Sea Level Connect series program number 15. So the guidelines for joining the program are please stay muted during the fireside session. We don't want any interruptions. So when you join the line, just please stay muted. Please turn off your video. We want to conserve bandwidth, so please turn off your videos. The speaker and myself, we will have our video on, but rest of you can please turn off your video. This entire session is going to be recorded, and the recording will be available in your public YouTube channel, so people can watch at their leisure. If you have any questions to the host or the guest speaker, you can use the Slido program, and I will talk briefly about what the Slido program is all about. What Slido allows you to do is Slido allows you to participate in periodic live polls that I post in the site, as well as it allows you to type in your questions during the program for the guest speaker or for the host. So today's session guest speaker is Mr. Girish Ramdas. Girish's LinkedIn profile is given as well as in the invitation. I'll be the host and Partha is our tech support. So today's session, the Slido code is 1862446. So what you have to do is you can go to any of your devices, desktop, laptop, tablet, mobile phone, go to any browser and type slido.com. And when you get the screen in the slido.com, you can type in the code. Uh, and you type in the code 1862446, and then you will immediately be put into the Q&A screen here. You have a Q&A screen and a poll screen. The Q&A screen is where you type your question, and the polls tab is where you will be answering polls that I'll periodically publish in Slido. So that's all I had in the presentation. Now we're going to turn it over to Girish.
Sure.
Okay, just one
Thank
second.
you.
So Girish,
Sure.
what I want to do is I just want to give you the first few minutes, first 15-20 minutes as I had given you. Basically, the objective of the first 10-15 minutes for you to give your story from the time you left CEG to where you are right now. The idea behind that monologue is for you to give your significant milestones in your life, but more importantly, is to convey or communicate any learnings or guidance or observations that you might think will be useful to the audience based on your experiences. You can use any format, you can use any content, you can talk about your professional life, you can talk about your social life, you can talk about your business or family. This is a very free flow session for the first 15-20 minutes. But the objective is for people to get insight into your experiences and observations and to learn from that. So, with that, over to you, Girish. Thanks.
Sure. Thanks, Vish. Thanks having me on the session. I'm happy to see people have started to join. And I mean, to talk about what happened post CEG, I think I want to go a little behind to before CEG and then go post CEG.
Okay.
So I mean, yeah. So I come from a normal, middle class family background, and but a more of a bureaucratic background. Actually, my dad was an IAS officer, mom was homemaker, and all my the formative years in up to school in Don Bosco, being an honest IAS officer that my dad was. His name was C.N. Ramdas. He retired as Secretary to Government of India in the Ministry of Surface Transport. But in Tamil Nadu, he held Education Secretary and Corporation Special Officer and the Mayor of Madras. So he is a very important man. But like they say, the IAS officers or the honest IAS officers are Nawabs with empty pockets. So that was unfortunately the case in our household. So as we grew up, everything had to be frugal. So, and we used to see our peers and other friends and other people all were, had the latest gadgets. And as we grew up, and we were kind of still really not having much in terms of, luxuries and, even things like television and air conditioning and everything everyone had in the 80s and 90s. We were much later that we even got to that point, right? So that was kind of setting a stage where and at one point, I mean, my brother is also from CG. He's my elder brother. He is in 95 mech, so I'm 96 mech. And so usually you would only follow the what do you say, your what your brother does, you do, especially elder brother, and you just follow that beaten path. But early on, by the time I was in 10th grade, I realized that I had to do things on my own. Right? There's no money at home. There is no. So I decided by the 11th grade I should become an entrepreneur. Right? So it was not easy. And just before that, maybe when I was in the fifth and sixth grade, I realized that others were getting pocket money, but I wasn't, because there was no money. Right? So then one day, as you see, my father will always wear white and white, and he would be polishing his shoes in such a way that you can see your face in the shoe. Right? He would spend 10-15 minutes to make sure that everything is perfect. And I used to watch him do that. And then one day I went to him and said, you are such an important man, important IAS officer, you're mayor of Chennai and all that. So why are you wasting 50? I was in, I think, fifth or sixth standard. So I said, we are wasting 15 minutes of your day polishing your own shoes. So why don't you give me some 1 rupee? I will give you some money so that you can till I can see my face in that black shoe, right? So that's kind of maybe an initial start to figure out that if there is a need and there is somebody on the other side, you can make some money out of it. So of course I made 1 rupee every other day, but I made 15 rupees in a month, right? And of course those days when you're fifth grade, sixth grade in the 80s, one ice cream would be 50 paisa. So I would relate to say the whole month of ice creams I can pay for myself, right? But it was not something that I took the shoe and it became an expert overnight. It took maybe a month. And then every day he will also give you, IAS officer looking to see if there'll only be faults, right? So you have to be so perfect that he cannot find a fault. So that was kind of where I think it all started. And I earned that 15 rupees. So by the time I was in 10th grade and we would go for public exam and all that, 11th standard came. And it's a completely jobless year those days. Right? 12th standard is important, 10th standard is important. Now, of course, for my kids, every year seems to be important. Right? So by the time I'm 12th standard, a couple of my friends joined together and we started a company. Actually, it's a proprietary concern called Graphics, GRAFX. So it was Girish, Rohit, and Abraham, three classmates. We realized in the market there was in Chennai those days. I'm talking about 1991. There was a lot of parties happening, but nobody in an organized sector like a party planner or a party organizer. So we were in 11th standard, we had the whole year pretty much to ourselves. So we said, why don't we set up a small proprietary concern? And literally, to cut the long story short, within that year, in the 1990s, we made about 20 lakh rupees. So it was, yeah. So I went back to my dad and told him, see, if you add up your salary for the last 20 years, it is hardly 12 lakhs. So within 1 year, I made 20 lakhs. Right? We did the first war of the DJs in Chennai in 1991. I mean, a lot of fun stuff. So we were having fun and we were making a good amount of money. Right? And we split it among the three partners at that time. Of course, I saved some money. Most of my partners drank it off. By the time 11th standard, those days also people were, enjoying their lives, I guess. So, but of course, my father told me I'm too big for my boots. Next year is 12th standard. You can't do all this. You have to study. So then we went back to the drawing board. I mean, it was a great year, but it taught us a lot of things. Right? It taught us how to, meet potential clients, what is the need of the market, how to save money by doing things on your own. Right? So we had even when we started, we used to put together a DJ, a sound and lights guy, and then we used to put together the party, right? Then over time we started realizing, why don't we own the sound and light? Then I don't have to pay someone else. So it was these basic, early days. I mean, 11th standard, you can imagine. We started putting these together. Then we made our own lights, right? Because that was kind of an early spark for being an engineer. My other two friends went to accountancy in Loyola College, and I went to CEG. So by 12th standard, I said, you know what, let's focus on the study part of it. And at the same time, I was also in the state tennis team, and by which time I was also in the national rifle shooting team. So in the same year, I had a small company. I had my 12th standard to go to. I had my tennis kind of going on, and rifle shooting going on. Right, so it was a multitask kind of a scenario. And I don't know, hard work or luck or whatever you want to call it, perseverance through the year. I got a state rank in 12th standard, which got me a scholarship to join CEG with no fees. So I didn't pay any fees. So I went back to my parents and said, you know what, 4 years of college, you don't have to pay anything. I literally kind of yeah, had the last laugh at that point of time, right? Saying that you don't have to pay for my college. So, and then of course, college was kind of also fun because very different group of people. It's not like school. You grow up from like junior kindergarten till 12th standard. You have friends for life. College is like a much a shorter period. People from different backgrounds, from villages, and everyone came to one place. But it was fun because you are seeing a lot of new things and a lot of new things to learn. So CEG was kind of that 4 years at CEG flew by. So a couple of things that happened then was, with the money that I had already saved. Meanwhile, my friends had moved to other colleges, like I said, Loyola and other things. And we didn't get back to continue that event management company. But I started a different line, right? So I did a few entrepreneurial kind of ventures while I was in college itself, right? And none of them really worked well, right? One was a pharma, distributorship, right? Because pharmaceuticals is a big deal. If you can get a distributorship, it actually pays off very well, but that didn't really work out. Then the friend of mine was started a poultry farm. So it was Tamil Nadu's largest poultry farm, well before Suguna Poultry and all of them started. This was again 1992, 93. So I had given him the blueprint to say how to integrate. He had only set up a farm. So I had given him the blueprint how to integrate it into backward integration. You need a hatchery, you need the parent, you need the eggs, and how to go forward and have your own shops. So within about 3 to 4 years, I helped him put together, while I was in college, helped him put together that entire plan. And it was going very well, except that, in this livestock business, it sometimes get wiped out due to disease, right? So then it's a lot of learning, right? You go into these things, you want to help friends, you want to help yourself, you want to do things differently. And the thing we did differently at that time was that whole integration. But then came Suguna and others who then leased somebody else's farm. So the headache became the farmer and not Suguna's. Here we were the farmer and we were also doing the integration. So it became a kind of loss-making venture at some level. But meanwhile, for the backward integration, I set up a hatchery for that entire unit. And I bought some land for the hatchery, about 20 acres of land for hardly 20 lakh rupees. Today, that land is worth about 120 crores. So though I didn't do that business successfully, some offshoots of perseverance and time may give you some different outcomes, right? So while on one side some of the profits that we took, we reinvested in this kind of land that we have even today that I own the land, and now that value of the land is appreciated, I don't know, 100x or more, right? So in about 20 years, so that there's always some good that happens, I think, in the long term if you persevere through things, right? And then for that hatchery that we set up, I needed a loan. So everyone said, please go to your father. He will speak to Indian Bank chairman. They'll give you tomorrow. So I said, I don't want to go to him. I'll do it on my own. right? Because I know that if he makes a phone call to any of these bank as an IAS officer, they would have given the loan overnight. So I went to about 21 banks. All of them said no, right? They said they won't give me a loan for some various reasons. You're too young was one of the reasons. Poultry is not a good business is one of the reasons. Hatchery won't work is one of the reasons. But I went diligently with my my business plan at those days. I think Lotus 123 or I don't remember what it was, or it was early Excel that we put together and took printouts in dot matrix printer now and went. And the more it's like in school and college when you have a bigger project report, then they get more impressed. So this we learned over time. So by the time my 21st bank, I had it was a 5-page report which became about 200 page. So then I met, unlikely, I met by chance Chennai Central Cooperative Bank. Until then, they had given loans only up to 10 lakhs. I needed 20 lakhs. So the day I went to that bank and met that general manager or who, I forget his name, I think special officer or something of that bank he was called, with my project. And mind you, poultry is supposed to be a priority sector. So it means their bank has to give you the loan, right? But no bank was giving. So then this guy on that day, he had a sanction approval from his board to increase his limit to 20 lakhs. That day, the day I entered. So he literally told me, என்ன தம்பி இன்னைக்கு வந்திருக்கீங்க 20 லட்சம் இன்னைக்கு தான் எனக்கு அப்ரூவலே லிமிட் கொடுத்துருக்காங்க. Before that, for the last 100 years, Chennai Central Cooperative Bank never gave more than 10 lakh to anyone. So he said, நீங்க ரொம்ப நல்லவங்களா இருக்கீங்க. Give me the report, and I gave that 200 page bound thing, and he was very impressed because he had never seen some professional report like this, right? Because I have gone to 20 banks before I came to that report, right? Because everyone has some 100 questions. So then I gave him, he was highly impressed. Then he said, within a month, we can process this loan. And I got the loan. Right? And of course, my father was quite surprised. He told me, but they won't give more than 10 lakhs, how you got 20? Then I told him the story. It happened on the day. And he felt it's, in India, sometimes it's Rasi and all people will see. The people will say, Neenga vanda sagunam, I got the approval, you came for the same amount. And in that, I think he gave the loan more than the government norms or whatever, right? So then within a couple of years, I had repaid the loan. Meanwhile, I had just finished CEG by 96, right? So then there was this poultry hatchery that I was running. And of course, after being a mechanical engineer running a poultry hatchery, over time, it is a cash business, right? Every day you'll make cash like 50,000 to 1 lakh rupees in cash. Your expenses will be about 40-50,000. You have a lot of cash. So my father said, boss, don't do all this cash business. Right? Do some business which is, check based. Tomorrow we don't want to be ending up in trouble after all these years of being an honest officer. Suddenly you have 10 lakhs of cash in the house, which may be part of your business. It may, by which time my dad had also retired in 95. So I said, okay, let's rethink what to do. So I had given the hatchery on lease to Suguna Hatcheries, by which time, right? So they took it on lease and they were running the hatchery and they gave me a check payment, right? So which had gone to multiple hatchery owners, and I still own that land, right? And I still get a lease amount every month from the hatchery. But like I said, coincidentally, the value of the land has grown quite a bit, right? So that was one, failure or something that went in a different way, ended up in a different way. So you keep learning all these things as you go through your life, right? And then meanwhile, in my sporting career, I continue to play tennis. I continue to be in the rifle shooting team. I got multiple national gold medals. The national record that I broke in 1994 when I was in CG, even till date, has not been broken. So that was another side story, because when you have an elder brother who's also a shooter, 6 years he won gold medal. So it took 6 years for me to beat him and get the first gold medal, right? Because every time he gets gold medal, I'll only get silver medal, right? So you have to strive to win, means it doesn't happen overnight. So all these learnings, of course, I'm trying to teach these to my kids, right? And of course, they come and say, Dad, you give too much gyan, right? So that is, of course, I think as we keep, spreading the word that, this hard work is essential, we need to persevere, nothing happens overnight. I mean, over time, people also realize that what he's saying or what all these people are saying actually makes sense. That even when my father told me many things, I thought it was gyan. But now, after so many years, I'm thinking it all was actually pearls of wisdom, which we never bothered to listen when we were younger, right? So that being said, the next part or next segment of my life was, I had given this on lease. Now I didn't know what to do. Right. So then I decided I should start some software business, because at that time it was 1998, and nobody heard of Y2K. India was still growing. This software was kind of newish. You had heard of Infosys, you've heard of some TCS, but nobody really. Even I got a job offer from TCS just after I finished CG. So we know that these things are there. So I decided to set up my own company, which was creating web architecture, web software, like websites and web tech. Right. So 98. So 98, 99, I did that. It was very profitable. And actually, the funny story there is, I had met the current RBI governor, Mr. Shaktikanta Das. Right, he was an IAS officer in Tamil Nadu those days. So he was running this Mahindra World City. It was actually a joint venture between government of Tamil Nadu, and so I know since I was growing up. So I met him and I told him, I'm doing this new business. Do you need a website for Mahindra World City? At that time, it was called Mahindra City, not World City. So literally, my first client was current RBI governor. Shaktikant Das said, yes, I will give you a project. You can do this, and he used to oversee himself how to the design and everything like that. So we literally started off on a good footing. Right? Of course, my aim was not to go anymore to government, because the minute you go to government sector, then you have to do L1 tender, all that stuff, which I tried many times, but again, without all kinds of other paraphernalia, you don't get any of these orders. Right? So then I kind of decided to go more into the private sector, and I realized that software export was kind of getting there. So then in 2000, that is a year when multiple things happened again. I got married in 2000. I met a friend of mine who's still my business partner, who was my 95 batch CEG, CR Venkatesh. And so CR Venkatesh of 95 MEC CEG was my brother's classmate. While I was making website for Mahindra City and all that stuff, he was making websites sitting in Madurai. And he had a vision to have all the city portals of Tamil Nadu. So he had Theni.com and Madurai.com, and he had booked all those websites. Me, on the other hand, realized that Chennai was the focus, or all the big traffic would come to Chennai. So I started what is called singarachennai.com with another classmate of mine. So singarachennai.com was one of the most visited websites in the 1998-99. And during the dot-com boom, right, we got investment into that from investors in US and all, who said, oh wow, you are running the Chingara Chennai, the city portal is a great idea. So those days we raised, I think, about 50 lakh rupees from some US investors, which was, a bonanza, because you don't spend 50 lakh rupees creating and managing websites, right? So that time CRV, as I call him, CR Venkatesh, CRV, met me, and he said, why don't we merge the two companies? And actually my brother, who's his classmate from CG, he told me, please meet CRV. I said, boss, why should I meet this guy? He's my competitor. He's making website, I'm making website. So I don't meet him. Then 1 or 2 months later, somehow we met. And my brother also said, please go meet him. Somehow he's bugging me. So when we met, we realized that actually they are doing complementary work. So now if you cut that long story short, we set up a company called .com Infoway in 2000. And we also set up Galata.com in 2000. And both of which are still running in 2022. And we still are business partners from then till now. So I think that was a great thing. I mean, you never know which opportunity comes from where. Right? We are having offices in Chennai, we have our clients mostly in the US. We have about 300 people doing software development. Right? On one side, the tech company, we had on one side Galata.com. So we kind of split the duties. So he was managing the tech, I was managing Galata. Then since I got married in 2000, my wife is a shoe designer. So she designed shoes for big brands like Bali and Ann Taylor and all of them. She used to go to Ambur and she used to go to Ranipet, and she's kind of a technocrat, right? Like her father was in the leather business. But then when my first child was born, 2005, we started realizing that going to Ranipet, coming, all that becomes a big hazard. And at the time, we realized that this online.com, though it's went into a bust by 2000, bust happened, but we had that initial money that we had, and we were able to make it a profitable business. By 2002, 2003, it was heavily profitable. Then by 2005, 6, 7, my first child was born, second child was born. My wife didn't have time to go and do her thing. So I told her, why don't you're great in English, you're a great people person. So why don't we set up a magazine, a print magazine? Like Filmfare only talks about Hindi and Bollywood. There is no English magazine that can speak about Tamil movies. So we started Galata Cinema magazine in 2007. So literally that was what was a brainchild that became an instant hit. Every movie star became our best friend. Till then the .com was much bigger than the magazine. Right? The .com had millions of users. The magazine had 10,000 circulation. But just because it's in print, the advertisers started pouring in. The movie stars started calling us before we used to call them. Right? So it was a complete change in the way things were going. Then 2008 happened. 2008, Apple evangelists came to Bangalore, and they were talking about this new concept called apps. So they said, so at that time our CTO in our software company, his name is Vijay. So he went to Bangalore and he came back and said, he was all excited. Said, there's this cool thing called apps. So I think we should do apps. Well, we're doing web technology, ASP, .NET, all that. Let's focus on apps. So we created an app development team in 2008. So 2008 and 9, we were creating apps for pretty much most of the people, right? So we were creating apps for, AR Rahman, because we had the movie connection, right? And then we realized, why don't we create an app for our own magazine? So when Steve Jobs in 2010 kind of launched the iPad and was showing magazine inside the iPad, that's when we said, hey, Steve Jobs is solitaire. So let us make our own magazine app. So literally the first app for magazine in Asia was for Galata magazine. So we launched our own magazine app with our own team, right? And within about a year, 1 lakh downloads we had. So print circulation 10,000. On digital on iPad became 1 lakh. Then we said, hey, wait a minute. If so many people are for an unknown small niche magazine, which is talking about South Indian cinema, has 1 lakh downloads, why don't we make apps for everyone? So we started making apps for others, right? Then we said, instead of making apps for others, why don't we create a product? So that's how we set up Magzter. So Magzter actually is a kind of a evolution of all this that then came one day when Vijay and I were walking in the park, literally Trivika Park in Chennai Nagar. We said, let's focus on some product that we can create. And we said, why don't we know about magazines. We are in the magazine business. There's a big demand for making magazine app. So why don't we make an app so that all magazines are in one? So literally 2010 we started coding, and by 2011 we launched Magzter. So Magzter app was launched in June 2011, and we had a vision to make it a global app straight away. So we straight away went to New York, set up the office in New York, set up a Delaware C Corp, right? Because we had all this experience, right? We set up our own company. We know how to make a profitable company. So it's not like we are doing something new, right? So we put our own money. We set up our own app. We had 35 magazines. That's how we started. Some small magazine, including our own magazine. And then we got our first break when India Today Group signed on, right? So India Today Group, when we met them, they had about 30 techies in the room. So at the end of the meeting, I told Vijay, I said, boss, surely they're going to clone Magzter idea and they're going to make their own thing. But they had a digital head who realized their team can't do what we did, right? So he gave us, said, no, you take India Today, you take Cosmopolitan India, and that's how we started, right? So then, that long story short, it's been 11 years now. We are now the world's #1 magazine app. We are now becoming the top magazine and newspaper app, right? We have 80 million downloads worldwide. And we are also, we have got 2 rounds of funding. We have raised almost 100 crore rupees. And now we are cash flow positive. So we are a profitable startup, which is very rare in today's startup world, where everyone asks what is your burn, what is your burn rate. So if you see Flipkart is burning 100 crores a month, somebody else is burning 50 crores a month. We are making profit every month, right? So that is kind of how my journey has been from maybe when I was very young till I guess where we are right now, where we have people all over the world, we have users all over the world. We've raised money. We've I think the overarching message here would be that you need to follow what you think is right. You could go wrong. There are failures along the road. People only see the end result, which could be a success, right? And did the video stop? I don't know. It says video pause. So I think it's been a great journey till now, and I think pretty much. I mean, in the meantime, I ran a full marathon at that show, the Chennai Marathon. I wanted to run a full marathon before I turned 40. So when I was 39.9, it happened to be Chennai Marathon, December 2014. So then I ran the full 42 kilometer marathon in Chennai, and everything that you do and achieve, you feel great, right? So you, in your own way, you set your own goals, your own targets, and then do your best, and then the rest, what will be, right? So I think this is pretty much. I think my 15-20 minutes I think are up. I think I leave wish to take the
And
next.
I think you covered a lot of ground, things that I was going to cover after the thing, but it's good. It's a good story from the beginning. A lot of takeaways that are relevant to this audience as well. Do you still run marathons?
So my aim was to get up in the morning, roll out of bed, and run at least 10K. So I can do that right now. So I can get up tomorrow morning without anything and run 10 kilometers. So I've now switched to do yoga and play badminton. So I've kind of moved to a different sport. So I'm now 47. So I thought, running is great, but over time, something that I can do over till I'm much older. I thought, yoga and stuff may help better.
I
But I
started
still run.
I started running at 47 actually. So January 8th, 2023 would be my eighth half marathon actually, and
Wow.
it's quite energizing sport I would say. It's not as
You get a great high as you do long distance running. You
absolutely
get that runner's high, right? That's amazing.
absolutely. Anyway, a couple of questions I want to ask you before I turn it over to the audience is you talked about Magzter, you talked about what Magzter does. Digital publishing is somewhat of a new concept in India at least. Can you describe a little bit about what that is and what is the future for digital publishing?
Yeah, sure. So there are various facets of digital publishing, right? So originally the print publishers like newspaper and magazine, they have been trying to go digital. That's the place where we come in,
Mm,
right? But today, when you say digital publishing, there are blogs, there are people are publishing their own books, right? And there are websites like Medium, there are websites like where you can type by yourself. It's like user generated content, which is digital publishing, right? So those areas of digital publishing we don't deal with. What we deal with is premium content,
mm,
right? So where otherwise if you have to read, for example, Times of India, you have to pay them money. Because you can pay Magzter, pay like the Netflix of reading,
mm,
right? So you pay a monthly or an annual or a fee, and you can read all you can. So we have nearly 8,000 plus magazines and newspapers from all over the world. Which you like, for example, you want to read Car and Driver from US, or you want to read Popular Science, or you want to read, for example, Kalki, or you want to read, some Dainik Jagran, right? You don't have to go to individual apps and individual websites to do that. You just sign up for Magster, and you can read from your tablet, your mobile, or from your PC or whatever, right? So it's pretty much a read all you can thing. And originally we kind of only did the single copy and subscription like the traditional publishing. So if you want to buy India Today, you can buy one copy, or you can buy 1 year India Today. In 2015, we changed that entire paradigm where we had read all you can. It's called Magster Gold, which is our main product right now. Earlier, 100% of our business was the other business.
mm.
Now that business is only 5% of our business. 95% is only read all you can, right? So, and there's still a lot of way to go in this space.
So Magzter Gold, you said, is like the Netflix of reading, really.
Correct.
Okay. So talking about entrepreneurship, there are some entrepreneurs in the call, and many entrepreneurs who will be listening to this YouTube version of that. The typical steps entrepreneurs think they want to take is come up with an idea, build a prototype, build a POC, go to a bunch of angel investors, a mom and dad, collect money, etc. All that. Then after that, go to angel investors, Series A, Series B, etc. Your story basically is doesn't fit any of that narrative at all. So yours might be an exception case, but what would be your advice or guidance to people who want to start something out of college or someone who's a few years after graduation? Do you have anything to tell them about how to succeed in today's world?
Sure. I mean, when we started in 2010 or even in the early 2000s, the VC community was very new. They were not. It's not very organized. Very difficult to reach out and get them to understand and do all that. Today, the angel networks and all were not there then. They were just just about starting. So today, I think the opportunities are much larger, right? And people are able to come up with great ideas and deliver on them without going too far, right? Like I went to 21 banks, I went to some 11 VCs, right? So before Kalari Capital invested our Series A, right? So many. It's not like people think that you just go with a great idea, people will sign up. Right? There is no such shortcut in that business. You need to. I mean, a couple of luck factors surely will play a role. Right? One is your what is it? The sector in which you are looking at, right? The need in that sector, and whether, of course, if you want to go to Series A, Series B quickly, whether that sector is sexy, right? That is very important. Right? Some people have great ideas in agriculture, right? Everyone's like, oh, agriculture, okay, they don't think it's cool. But there are a lot of great, cool concepts in agriculture which can actually become, $1 billion business. But it doesn't get that, the cool factor from a VC. Right? So similarly, I think each people are like, fintech is great, right? But they'll see your background. Are you a banker? Did you leave your job to start a startup? Right? Those kind of things. Everyone like only looks at those one-off success stories of I dropped out from college and then I became a billionaire. That's only one in a billionaire like that. And the rest of people have to literally go step by step, fail, meet so many people. So I think the way for anyone is, of course, idea has to be at least there should be a need in the market. I think that is the key. Everyone has ideas. If there's a need, and then it's all about execution. If you can execute well, then you don't have to be the first guy also. You can be the second or third player. If you execute better, you can be the number one. So in different stages, it's about different things. One at the early stage is about the idea and who you know and how you're going to put it together and how you can market yourself and of course which sector it is. At a slightly later stage, then it's about the larger need in the market. How is your growth in what you're already doing? Are you able to prove the model is working? And so there are a lot of those things. So I think for people just out of college, I mean, angels are literally, I guess, back to parents, friends, right? Sometimes they are mentors. Now, of course, when we were early entrepreneurs, we never heard of the word mentor, or even if we thought of a mentor, it became some old man I had to hire to be my advisor just for namesake. But no, I think being an entrepreneur, I myself feel like I need mentors, right? So I look up to some of the other top CEOs who I know who give me some advice on and off. And I think which you and I also at one point have been mentoring other startups as well. So I'm mentoring few startups as we speak, and a couple of them are related to CG, and a couple of them are startups which I felt have legs after listening to their story and listening to the need in the market. So I think important to find such things or find some seniors who you can work with, right? And work as and form that core initial team who can be with you for a long time.
I think the a lot of things you said. Like I remember when I started as angel investor in 2009. There wasn't any angel network to start. Now there were only few, two or three in the whole country in India, and we had a total of about 100 people, and all of us knew each other very well in all over the country. Now we have thousands, maybe many tens of thousands of angel investors. That's one. Mentoring definitely a big topic. It's much better known now than before. We still don't have a very organized way of doing it for our own alumni actually. We are doing it in kind of bits and pieces here and there, but we still don't have it organized. One of the things I want to accomplish through this program is to try to get people to seek mentoring and people to also mentor startups and the young alumni as well. So what you're doing with the startups, I would definitely want you to do more for our alumni as well. And in that particular topic about angel investment, we already have a CEG angel investment group in the US called Gindi Angels. Starting next month, I'll be starting a Gindi Angels India chapter
Oh,
where
great.
we are focusing on getting CEG alumni angel investors who are all over the world, including the US, wanting to contribute and invest in any startup in India with non-US funds. So we already have about 50 to 60 alumni who have expressed interest in becoming part of the group. So we'll be starting to look for startups. Of course, we will have a preference, a soft corner for CEG startups, assuming they have a good business model. All things being equal, they get a preference. But that's something that we are doing. So I want sessions like this to people to listen to and say that hey, there are opportunities that we can look inside our own alumni organizations to grow from and get there. So good, Girish. We got to quite a bit of time in this hall now. I want to open it up for questions from the audience. I'm just looking at the Slido thing, and I don't see very many questions yet, except one. So let me ask the person who put the question about from shoe shine to poultry farm to magazines. That kind of question. Whoever asked the question, can you please unmute yourself and ask the question, please?
Sure, Girish, thank you. Fantastic story. This is Karthik here, and fantastic story all the way, and very inspiring. Thank you. My question was, if you were in CAG today, what areas would you be looking at as opportunities or areas of biggest pains?
You mean as a student or as going back as a
As in, if you are
as,
not as invested in a magazine startup already, and you had a fresh start where you're 20 years old now, with all the wisdom
okay,
that you have today, what areas
okay.
would you be looking at?
See, I don't think it's much of areas. I think what we need to look at is scalable businesses, right? So it could be in any area, right? Like for example, just to give you a in-house anecdote on the same subject, my daughter and her best friend, when they were 14 during the pandemic, they started a small website called ilobyvane.com. Ilo means joy in Finnish language. It's basically connecting student artists to the world. Right, so they have about a few hundred students who have signed up to their website and they put up their art. This was a very simple idea, and it started with just a couple of their classmates who are good at art. Please put your art onto my thing that they put on Instagram, and many of the art started selling. Right, 5,000, 4,000, 10,000 rupee types art, and those art, the money was then donated to charity. So they raised the 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees within that period of time, and raised it and gave the money to a cancer foundation, right? So this is no sector, right? This is actually no sector. It is basically students connected to their passion, which in this case is art, and it's infinitely scalable if you look at it that way. On one side, you have like 100 million students around the world, and on the other side, you have art lovers or people who want to buy art at different points of time. And every MF Hussain started as a student.
Mhm.
So it doesn't really have to be in certain, like I can say healthcare and robotics and the next big thing, but there is never such a thing like that. It's always those are trends that you can follow, but I think if there is some scalable idea like this that comes to your mind, you need to then follow that. So now these two girls are looking at setting up a for-profit company. They're now 17 years old. They're not even allowed to open a bank account in India. So I'm trying to set that up and figure out things. They want to get into NFTs. So I think the younger generation now has more ideas than us for sure. Right? It's up to us to give them that opportunity to kind of follow that passion in whatever way they want, and it's okay if they fail. No, I think that's the key. The key is unless you fail. So like if I was 20 years old with all this knowledge, I will take many more risks. If you look at my life itself, there are a lot of risks I took. Right, starting from the day I questioned my dad, he would have slapped me that day. I took the risk to ask him, "Why are you wasting 15 minutes of your day? Give me that job." Right. So normally in the 80s you can't ask your father any questions, and especially somebody like my dad. But he chose to humor me. Right. So that kind of risk taking is what you have a chance to do when you're very young, and I think you should take those risks, right? And you should meet as many people as possible. Right? Many of the people, I mean, even in my CG class, very introvert. Right? It's all about how you market yourself, your idea, your vision. Right? That's why if you see in the US and all, people are shining much more. Our boys are great in tech, great in girls also, boys and girls, great in tech, great in building the product, but have no idea how to market it. Right. So that is where I think there is a big lack. So I think when you look at it, go back in time. I don't know what sector I could have started. I'm not thinking that my daughter's idea is much better than my own. So I'm waiting for her to do something with it, because if I try to help her, she'll throw me out of the office. I'll give my resume, see whether you can hire me.
Actually, this is a good point, because a lot of our students are still job seekers. More than 90% of our graduating students are looking for a job, and the rest of the 10%, 5% goes abroad for higher studies, and very few actually want to do what they like or a passion they have, and we have to change that. So we have to come out as a collective senior team of alumni. We have to find a way to inspire or encourage our students to do that. So we are working with the Atal Incubation Foundation in CEG. There is a central government funded incubator that is running in CEG. So perhaps you can join that team, Girish, because we are trying to go to the departments in CEG and tell stories about yours, for example, or any story like that. And there is a revenue for people to succeed very well, actually. It, of course, involves some risk, but that's something that we want to do more of. And this program, for one of the purpose also is to do that, to say that CEGNs have done it in the past with whatever little help they had, and we want to continue doing that. So this is an issue. We're trying to get more people to focus on entrepreneurship and startups is something very critical for us to achieve as well.
Cool. I don't know if that answered Karthik's question, but I
Thank you, Girish. I was going to say thank you.
So
you did wonderfully.
Excellent. So any other questions from the audience? Anybody can open and ask a question. Sangamitra, any question? Can I have a job, Girish?
So yeah, tell me what you're doing now, Sangamitra.
So I'm a master student at UT Austin. I'm doing my second year, and I work under Professor Vijay Chidambaram, who's also an alumnus of CEG. I work at his systems and storage lab. So I'm interested a lot in systems research, obviously, but I'm looking to sort of go into biz dev and consulting in the future. Those are my aspirations. So yeah, I was just it was a great talk. Thank you so much for that. It was very informative. I had one question. So right now, I think in the given climate, do you face any like new changes in the digital publishing market or anything like that? And what steps have you taken to steer your company in that direction?
So yeah, I think the big change that everyone saw was COVID. Right, it was a huge shock to everyone. Right, I remember the first when the full lockdown was on, all the Kalari CEOs, there were 60 of people they've invested in. We got on a call, and out of that, I think 55 from various levels. Somebody was at 100 crore business, someone has a 10 crore business, someone has a 10 lakh business. Literally overnight became zero, right? So, like for example, ride sharing, this, that. I mean, you can name it. Different types of businesses went literally from hero to zero overnight, right? So that's a huge shock that happened to all. We were one of the lucky few where everyone got stuck at home and they want to read something and they're not getting newspaper magazine with COVID, without COVID. Virus is coming in the newspaper also, and the guy is touching it. I'm scared to use Swiggy. The Zomato fellow is bringing COVID to my house. So that kind of doubled our business, right? Like Netflix, us,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was a kind of an unfortunate incident which gave us some boost in what we were doing, right? So at any time you will face such huge changes, and this was the biggest change I think, a huge shock that the world saw of late. But I think now people have got more resilient. It's the same companies which went almost bust have retooled to figure out how they can still work in lockdown. If there's a next lockdown, what to do, right? So I think you learn from such situations. In our case, digital publishing, like the other types of digital media, got a big boost due to COVID. Now post COVID, people have gone back to work. Our challenge is to keep them reading, right? So,
Right, right.
so because when they're stuck at home, then if you see Netflix stock has gone, I think less than half that it was last year, right? That stock has crashed. So I think it's a good time to buy some of these digital stock, especially if they are listed, right? There's always an opportunity in any of this because it's a great company, right? And everyone's watching Netflix or Hotstar and all that stuff. It's just that I don't spend that much time because I'm stuck at home. I'll spend more time. Now that I've gone back to work, I spend less time, but I'm still not canceling my subscriptions, right? So that it's still a huge market out there. So you learn from these shocks and changes in the environment and changes. So digital publishing is no different. We are seeing a big change from print to digital, uh, at least in the younger audiences. The older audiences are still in print, right? So we are in that cusp of very old people who want only print, and very young people who don't want anything. They want TikTok and Insta reels and Facebook, and I mean Facebook is for old people. Sorry, they're on Discord and all these other new age tech, right? So even Instagram is now slowly not being used by maybe my daughter and all. Rarely I think goes to Instagram.
So I think that's a good question, right? With all this TikTok and other new things coming on, do you think even desktop publishing of magazines would be a viable business? Will people
That's
be
one
reading
thing. So
magazines?
yeah, so it is a target audience, right? So the people like who watch TikTok are spending inordinate time to on that. I mean, I'm giving TikTok an example, but I'm saying video games. Basically, you have a mobile phone and you're glued to it. Right? So our aim is how to bring that user to. So our one of the things we are doing, we did. I mean, it is what we call our COVID baby. We launched a product called Edster. It's educational Magzter, right? So now the Edster is being used in all the IITs, all the IIMs. Actually, we are speaking to CG, Anna University as well, right? But I think it's not going too far as yet. We've been speaking for last year plus, but we've got all the IITs, IIM, NIFT, and even now Parliament of India has bought for all MPs Magster subscription, and Edster is the new product for education sector. So our aim is that if we can give educational content, you catch them young and watch them grow, right? So the college or the school should pay for it, right, and buy a bulk subscription, and the students are given that experience of using this app-based uh, reading platform, which is basically us, right? And then when they come out of college, they'll have money, then they can buy a Magster subscription. So we are trying to go from that model.
It sounds like a Microsoft model for Microsoft doing free PCs in schools to get you addicted to that, and then people start using
Yeah.
it later
So
on.
yeah, correct. Something on those lines.
So I know that going to China and Beijing, we used to go to the flea market and buy Microsoft CDs, like 10 CDs for like 100 ringgit, RMB, things like that. I used to wonder why they're doing it. Microsoft actually doing that on their own there in the flea market. to get people hooked onto the software, particularly students and youngsters, etc. And so later on, they'll go and buy the real subscription, etc. All that. It's amazing to even think through that kind of an idea.
So
But
see, our business actually is slightly growing because people want the truth. So when you look at today's internet and WhatsApp and all, it's fake news is a lot.
yeah,
Like the last 2 days, I'm listening to Xi Jinping is either been arrested, now is dead. I don't know what is the reality. So everyone is waiting to see in the morning newspaper whether something came or a trusted source which gives them that information. Till then, it is only like who killed Aditya Karikalan, right? We don't know who did it till you actually unearth the truth, right? So this fake news will happen for thousands of years, and it's still happening. So when you come to Magzter kind of platform, it's a branded content, a premium content, right? So people pay for that, and that's where our business continues to grow.
super. Vijaya, you have a question?
Yeah,
Go
Girish,
ahead.
thanks for the wonderful talk. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
See, my question is, see, for everything there is an app, and I am actually going through an app fatigue now. I'm like anything, any service that's now going to come through an app. I'm very, averse to installing it on my, iPad or my phone. See, for example, now there are so many apps for payments, and people are already talking about combining all the, or customers want that in one single app.
correct.
But
Everything needs an aggregator.
correct. So what's the next thing to an app? I'm really having a app fatigue, and my phone can't take any more apps. And it's becoming very cumbersome to navigate through my phone. It's the next level of complication or
Yeah.
complexity as customers we are facing. In
Good
your
question.
experience, is there a next thing to app?
So, so right now there is no new alternative, right? You can do web apps, you can do more like responsive web and stuff like that. But in most people's phones, I think first and second scroll, any app that resides there is what is being used. Anything beyond that, swipe third is like a graveyard. So the aim is to, if your app is in the first two pages of anybody's phone, then you are being used, right? So that is obviously one aim. But as far as app itself, see the advantage of an app, whether it's an iOS or Android or both, or that new React Native type apps that you can make in one app for both, right? You can it's the ease of using once you get into the app is unparalleled. Like we also have a full reactive website, and you can do everything without Maxter app. You can go to maxter.com and do whatever you want there. That you do in the Maxter app. But that whole experience is much smoother when you're in app, including downloading pages to your device. Like we've got this new concept called smart reading zones. Right? We just signed up with Cafe Coffee Day, 550 coffee shops across India. You can read Maxter for free. Right? It will be rolled out next month. Right? So when you're in the coffee shop, you're drinking coffee, you don't have to pay. You just download the app with the QR code and you can start reading straight away. Right? We just launched the same thing in Dubai Airport, Apollo Hospital. Right? So smart reading zone is a new concept that we come up with. With any location, we have just signed up with ITC hotels, right? Taj hotels. So where you don't even really need the app, you can do it through web. But even there, we are seeing the adoption is more on the app only. Because once you come to web, it's you can't download. Like for example, in an airport, like Dubai Airport, you download. You use a web app. It doesn't store on your device. It's streaming, right? There's no way to cache it into your device. But if you're in the Magster app doing the same thing, you can download like you do Netflix before you get on a flight. You can download two episodes, one movie, and you can get on the plane and watch. Similarly, you can do the same with Magster. You can download today's newspaper, one, two, three magazine, all while you're in the airport for free and read it on your plane. Right. So those benefits continue to be in app. Right. But of course, everyone is trying to find new options to be app free. I don't think that's going to happen in the near future.
I think you have to invent something where I think about something and you give me the information, without having
Yeah.
to download it. You know, to read my mind and then give me what I want.
Yeah.
Okay, I have another question from Mohan Kandasamy. Do you want to ask your question, Mohan?
Sure. Thank you, Vish. Hi, Girish. Great story. Glad I was here today. Quick question on your business model. Do you also have a B2B platform like the magazines for hotels or airlines
Yeah.
or even the
So
waiting
so
rooms?
so so our big push used to be only B2C. So we are a B2C company in our DNA. But just
Okay.
before COVID, we started looking at B2B, and COVID made us, find the smart reading zone concept, right? Where the benefit that we got before COVID, when we went to the same airport, they said, we don't want this. We went to the same ITC hotel, they said, we don't want this. But due to COVID, they don't want to touch anything. The guests don't want to touch anything. Planes don't want to onboard these kind of extra fittings, right? So then it became the what we they literally called us back. நீங்க ஏதோ சொன்னீங்க அதை திருப்பி வாங்க திருப்பி சொல்லுங்க like that they called us back, and now we are across we have just signed up 600 hotels in Marriott, Southeast Asia. So these deals are literally falling at our lap, right? Public. So I think it's our B2B business is hardly maybe 10% of our business, but over the next couple of years we see that to be at least 50-60% of our business.
Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Very nice. I don't see any questions in the line. Unless anyone wants to ask a question, feel free to ask the question now. We're already running a little bit over time, Girish, but I'll give a few more minutes for any further questions from the audience, and then if there are no questions, we'll wrap up the session.
Sure. I think enjoyed being on the session, and also happy that it's being recorded. So I think hopefully people who couldn't make it today can get to listen to the questions, the answers, some of the ideas, right? And also, if anyone wants to reach out to me, I mean, my email ID is girish@magzter.com. So I think which you can put it into the text or
we will,
text. So anyway,
as part of the record.
Please go ahead. Yeah, okay. I think you've read about me. So yeah, so while we did so many things, I think during COVID time last year during that second wave, we were all hiding in our houses. I think that is pretty much everyone was forced to hide in the house. One of my classmates from my Don Bosco, he is one of the top infectious diseases doctors in New York, Hamptons, Dr. Rajiv Fernando. So while we are all hiding in our houses, that guy took a flight from New York, landed in Chennai. He wore full PPE, and he started going and trying to help people in COVID. So he sent me. I mean, we are on WhatsApp. He's my close friend. He's my classmate. I was totally shocked, and literally overnight he inspired that we have to do something. I said, if you can come from New York, leaving your day job, which is high-paying doctor job in infectious diseases in New York, and come to Chennai and want to do something for the people of Chennai, what the hell are we doing? We are hiding in our house, right? That's what we are doing. So then we said, you know what? Corporation of Chennai is doing their bit. They're doing mass campaigns, this, that, so many things. But if you see the villages, that is when that actor Vivek died after having the second dose. Literally, whether it was coincidence or dose, we don't know. But that made the whole of Tamil Nadu go afraid of vaccine, right? And became, nobody wanted. So we then chose the next village outside Chennai, which happened to be Kovalam. And since I was building my own beach house there, I knew some of the local people there, and I had not yet built at that time. It was only bought the land. I contacted them and said, you know what? Why don't we join together and have this campaign called COVID Illa Kovalam? So COVID Illa Kovalam was the idea that came up between the local panchayat and the local guys in Kovalam and us. And then we said, how do we bring people to come and get that vaccine? Right, on one side, government is desperately trying to get people to vaccinate. On the other side, villagers are saying, நான் வரல எனக்கு வந்து போட்டா செத்து போயிடும் Vivek இறந்துட்டாரு. That was a kind of a vaccine phobia, right? COVID was killing people on vaccine phobia, and government was sending 100 doses, zero were being administered, right? Even in the city of Chennai, right? So that was the kind of situation. Then I said, boss, all of us love biryani. Why don't we have give biryani to anyone who comes for vaccine? That's how that whole idea started. And of course, the collector at that time he was joking, saying, "Why only biryani? Why don't we give one quarter also?"
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
so, so I said that sounds like a great idea, but I don't know if it's the right message to pass on. So literally we started that. So we not only gave biryani, biryani became the focus, but we actually gave, we had autos, people going door to door. We spent nearly 60 lakh rupees on the campaign, right? Which we raise funds from all our classmates and friends, and we have a trust called the CN Ramdas Champion Development Trust, which is a non-profit. So we were able to, generate the funds there, and we spent the money, and literally we made the entire Kolam double vaccinated. So nearly 15,000 families got saved because of that campaign. I think collector and minister and everyone took all the credit. We are very happy that the people of Kolam got the benefit. Right? So we were very much behind the scenes, but the idea was let's do something different. So then I think CNN and a lot of news outlets across the world published that, saying things that like in Washington DC they were giving a joint, some ganja they will give you if you go and have. That was one of the campaign. So they said innovatively in a place called Kovalam in Tamil Nadu, they are giving biryani. Right? Then because my wife is a Rotarian, they had gone to North Madras with a Rotary Club to do vaccination in North Madras. And the villagers or the people of North Madras who came for vaccination, like, நீங்க பிரியாணி தரீங்களா அப்படின்னு. Then they all called me and said, "Oh, you started this biryani campaign. Now everyone asking us also to give biryani." I said, "Give them. What is the problem? It's not very expensive to give biryani, and so long as the people are safe." So it was fun doing that campaign, coming, and I think all my brothers' kids, my kids, everyone came and gave their spend time with the villagers, and how to make it happen. It was a fun campaign.
Super. Excellent. Any further questions from people in the audience? Okay. Thank you, Girish, for your time. It's a very good session today. A lot of good messages and a lot of story was very interesting. I hope it was inspiring to people, and people can take good takeaways from this call. We will be putting the recording of this after editing it the next couple of days in the YouTube channel. So watch out for that in the YouTube channel, guys. And please, couple of requests from my side. This program, CG Sea Level Connect, we have done it for more than a year now. We started on August 15th, 2021. We have finished 15 sessions so far. So far, so good. A lot of good feedback from that. But we want to grow the program and make it more valuable. So any feedback you have in terms of what we can do to make the program more valuable, make it more effective, make it more viral, please do let us know. This is a program that is run by me along with help from Partha. It's an individual capacity. We don't have any organization supporting us right now, but we do want to take it to the next level. So any sort of feedback, any sort of help you can give us to improve the program, increase the virality, get more people to listen and more people to watch the recording would be appreciated. Please do write to us. You can go to cegconnect.com and you can send us a message there, or you can reach us through social media, through our LinkedIn or WhatsApp channels also. The second thing is that we want more students to join as well. We're not getting very many students join the program, and I'm trying my very best to get it through the current student clubs in CEG, but we are not that successful in getting the message across to students. The original purpose of the program was for students, but we're not getting very many students. We're getting a lot of alumni watching, alumni reacting, but students aren't joining. So any idea that you guys might have to get?
I think we should take this offline, take it back to the big auditorium in CEG, get 2-3 CEG C-level entrepreneurs, and have a nice fireside there with all the students coming there and filling up that auditorium. Then I think there may be a great connect there. And then, of course, go back online. Maybe once in a year or once in 6 months, have a CEG connect literally in CEG with the students where we can really, have a session where students can be directly there and listening to what we're trying to say.
Good idea. I think you should probably try that. Like most of the organizations have an annual event, we can probably have a CEG Connect annual event where we can do maybe a panel discussion with a bunch of CEG entrepreneurs or something like that. Definitely worth a thought. We'll give it a thought. That involves a lot of coordination with the college, but I guess we'll get knowing the right people in the right places. We can get this thing done. So definitely we'll do that, Girish. Any other idea like that? If you guys have, please do let us know, and we will try and implement as much as possible. With that, if there are any further questions, any further comments, we'll close the session for here. Thank you, Girish, for joining, and
Thank you, Vish.
I hope
Thank
to
you all.
hope to see you all in the next session as well
Yeah.
next month.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Bye.